Okay, so FOLAKEMI ODESOLA is an architect, a vision clarity coach. She's very keen on personal development. And she talked about it off of her own journey. It's not, as a matter of fact, Falaka and I were roommates. So I saw her start writing her visions from university days. So it's not it's not a story that I cannot relate to. When she tells her story, that she started writing her visions 14 years ago, that was about 14, 15 years ago when we were roommates. I can relate because I was there. I saw her write it. I even thought she was weird. At the time, I didn't know better, But yeah, so she's very particular about visions, being clear about your visions, executing your visions. And we call her the queen of vision boards because she believes that you can exhibit, not exhibit, that vision boards are the way to go, because it's not just writing your visions, then you can put them in a picture or on a board and you can see them. It's make it plain. There's a part in the Bible that says make it plain, write it down, and all that. So when you write it down, you can see it. So she's also an interior designer. And she has done, she hosts clarity hangouts for people. She has hosted over like 20 events. She recently had an event at Social Media Week, which is renamed to African X, where she talked about the most passionate child, the most passionate adult. Sorry. So, she's doing very well. And here she's going to be talking to us about the multi-passionate child. So if you have a child that you think is confused, that you think, okay, they think you're passionate about a lot of things, okay, just sit back and listen to FOLAKEMI. Okay, so please let's welcome FOLAKEMI ODESOLA. FOLAKEMI, you are live now.
All right, hello, Dotun. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can
hello,
hear
everybody.
You,
can you hear me now? All right,
yes,
can you
see
me?
You. We can see you.
Okay. You can see me. Okay. Thank you, Nene. Thank you, everyone. I can see everybody in the house. While I'm fixing my video, let me just say hello. Hello, Kewe. Hello, Mr. Motosho. I can see you. Mr. Motosho, hello. Adun, hello. Chuku, Nonso, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My system is hanging a bit, but I'm sure it will come on. Okay, so I'm supposed to be talking to you today about the multi-passionate child. My roomie, my roommate has introduced me already, so I'm just going to go quickly into the matter of the day.
Okay, so I'll just sorry, a minute. So just a minute, please.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to just put up your picture while your video is coming on. Okay.
All right. No problem.
Okay. Yeah.
No problem. No problem. So just a few minutes, a few days ago, I think on Tuesday, March 1st, anyway, to be specific, I was talking to adults about their multi-passions, how to manage their multi-passions. And we took it a top-notch higher, and we're telling them about how, if they are able to manage their multi-passions, they can be better at, the things they do, they can stand out better, and then they can even increase, earnings for Africa, because we are all Africans. And then I'm sure, of course, this content is not just for Africans, it's also for people all around the world. Anybody can benefit from this content. But we were speaking specifically, I was speaking specifically on that day to African creatives, and a lot of them that they could relate to the things that we were saying. And if you, I mean, like, these are people in their 20s, their 30s, and they're still having, people were talking about their struggles. And, this is something that they are still talking about, as in people are still having those struggles even now in their 30s, in their 20s, in their 30s. And so I want to talk to all parents, and just say, first and foremost, if you are here, you signed up for this Creative Child Conference, you've come to the right place. It is better to start having these conversations, earlier, so that your children, would benefit from it. And I'm sure a lot of adults would benefit from this, not just the child, but the adults will also benefit from this. I don't know if you can see me now. Doctor, maybe you check it now if you can see me.
We can see you. We
Can
can
you
see you.
see me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. All right. So, this subject of multi-passion for adults and then for children. I think parents who have struggled with their multi-passions, if they learn how they can manage it, then they can help better manage their kids. And that's one of the reasons why we are still continuing their conversation, even with people who are in their 20s and their 30s. Now, moving on to the multi-passionate child. So first and foremost, who is a multi-passionate child? A multi-passionate child is, all right, thank you, Nene. A multi-passionate child is a child who has many passions, a child who has difficulty picking one thing, a child who is displaying creativity in more than one particular area, a child who displays skill, interest, passion in more than one particular area. So this is a multi-passionate child. And most times a multi-passionate child, it depends on the kind of environment that this child is, but the child may face, some resistance, from the world, because people don't do so well with, I think it's cute, maybe when they are young, you're happy that your child can do so many things and all, but as the child begins to grow, maybe get into the teenage age, or maybe the child begins to, get further than that, is leaving secondary school, because of the way our world is conditioned. I mean, look at all of us, like we all, started out doing so many things. And then when we were growing older, and when we got to SS2, SS3, guidance counselors started to ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to study, and all those kind of things. That is when the conditioning begins. Sometimes we ask the children from when they are younger, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we're expecting them to answer, because we're asking, what do you want to be? We're not saying, what are the things that you want to do when you grow older? So even in the way that we frame our questions, we're already conditioning these children to pick one thing, and it's not, I won't blame, every one of us. I won't blame anybody, but let me just tell you a bit of my own story. I was, when I was young, very crafty person. I used to draw and paint and do all of that. But as a nurse at the time, always used to say, oh, FOLAKEMI will read medicine. My daughter is going to be a medical doctor. Into it because I entered, so funny enough, I went to science class, even though I was very artistic, I liked things that had to do with arts and all of that. But I went to science class because I was also doing well in the science subject. And when I got into the sciences, I was very good at biology, chemistry, physics. So I didn't have any problem with those subjects. And so it seemed like medical doctor. I even said, if I do medicine, because I picked, how I wanted it to be, I'm going to be a surgeon. So I was well on board with that dream as well. And then all of a sudden, after SS3, I went to A-level school. And for the first time in my life, I started to have problems with chemistry. Now, I'd done chemistry, molecular chemistry and all of that, even in SS3. But for some reason, at this A-level, it just seemed like Greek to me. It just seemed like, oh, I couldn't go further. I couldn't crack it or anything like that. Now, I was in that class with my best friend. We were in the same class in secondary school as well. And then we went to A-level school together. And it just seemed like she was getting it and I wasn't getting it. It got to the point where the teacher asked me one day and said, are you sure the two of you went to the same school? Why is she picking it and you're not picking? Are you sure you finished your syllabus? I was one of the bright students in my secondary school as well. So it wasn't that I had, issues with that thing or anything like that. And I remember that even in biology class, I would draw and paint. So I was one of those annoying students in biology class where they will say, who can draw the skeleton? Then I will get to the board and draw the entire skeleton and label everything, for them. And, people would come to give me their notes after class, please draw for me, and all of that. I didn't know that it was my artistic side that was loving biology. It wasn't just because I am scientific, I can do the biology, no, it was because that was my opportunity to draw. That was my fine art class. Because I wasn't allowed to take fine art in my school didn't allow me to take fine art as a science student. So that was my own fine art class. So I didn't know that I was just finding ways to express, who I was. Anyway, back to chemistry, I now started rethink it. Somehow, I got admission into university while I was still in A-level school. So I left, and I got the opportunity, to write for a supplementary, to write a supplementary exam or something like that to enter a particular university. So when I went there, I was told that, so one of our family friends, he was head of department in one particular, in the mass comm department of that school. And he had a talk with me and said, it was a school in the East. So he had a talk with me and said, they won't give you the medicine that you want. It's an unspoken thing, it's not something people talk about, but they will reserve courses like that, medicine, law, accounting, and things like that for their indigents. So pick something that is closest to your heart. You will never regret if you read this thing. And then he started to give me pointers, and he said something that's really close to your skill, the things that you like to do naturally. It was the first time I ever thought about, okay, the things I like to do naturally. And I said, yeah, I like to draw and I like to do all of these things. These are the things that I like to do naturally. And then he said, those things, what kind of course can you put together, and that you can read? And this is where you will thrive because it's just natural for you. And I thought about it, and that was the first time, honestly, that architecture dropped in my mind. It will make you laugh when I tell you that I dropped technical drawing in SS1 first term. First term SS1, I dropped technical drawing because I didn't think that I was going to read architecture, and I didn't think about it. My technical drawing teacher was always complaining about my paper, my sheet being, say your sheet is not clean enough. Because I was an artist, I was just, drawing there and everything like that. I wasn't drawing all the straight lines that she wanted, and all of that. And I was looking for opportunities to be in a fine art class. The woman wanted me to be in a technical drawing class, so I cut out and I went to do food and nutrition, which was another artistic thing, another creative thing. So I was always looking for ways to be creative. You may have kids who are always looking for how to express themselves in all these kind of areas. Maybe you keep on trying to push this child this way, and you see that the child just keeps on, zooming that way and going that way. I really appreciate this particular person, my family friend, that told me, just talk to me. That was the first real advice I had. And because of that, it actually made me to really, think about it. And that was when I picked architecture. I did architecture in that school for a year before I transferred, before I left and went to the school where Dr. and I met, and we were roommates. So that's how I ended up reading architecture. And today, I don't think that there's any other thing that I could have read that would have been the most suited course for me to read, because architecture is the best blend of being meticulous and scientific, and then also being artistic and all of that. And it gives you the right form of discipline that you need, even in the artistic form, the way you want to be artistic. Now, I'm not preaching the course. I'm not saying everybody's child should read that, but I'm just saying that this is how I still found my way back to where I think that I was supposed to be. So if there's anybody who is listening, who has a child, instead of asking your child, what do you want to be when you grow up? Just and allow them pull up a list. The first time that I wrote my list, when I was in Aki school in uni, I think was maybe 2004. I've been thinking about these things since the millennium. I didn't have the audacity to put it on paper. By 2002, I thought about it and said, these are my dreams. I need to put it down. And so I put it down. I put those dreams down. And then by 2004, by 2002, I allowed my mind, to think about it. By 2004, I put it down. And I saw that they seemed slightly divergent. I was an architect student at the time, but I also wanted to do fashion design. I liked, so many things, jewelry design, beading, and things like that. But the only thing that made me look at it and say, okay, well, maybe I'm in the right place, which was years later, because at the time I didn't see the correlation between everything. When you study architecture in school, you are taught to respect buildings and design and build buildings. So my mind, I didn't have the should I say boldness at the time to think of, diverting or anything like that. But once I left uni, I thought about it and said, you know what, I love interior design. I love, fashion design. I love jewelry design. I love furniture, landscape. So I am multi-passionate even within the design and construction industry. And aside from that, today, one of the things that I do, and I started to do this, I started coaching and consulting in the personal development space. 5, 6 years ago. I started around 2016, 2017. 2017 was when I had my first workshop. Personal development was on my list, in 2004, but I didn't know how to go about it. But the truth of the matter is that if you allow your children to just write, the things that they want, they have you to even guide them. So my daughter has been saying the same thing for years now. She was 5 when she built her first vision board. I usually recommend that parents allow their kids build vision boards. Vision boards will help them to actually pour out, their interests, their passions, the kind of things that they like. You would, in fact, it may even be better than sitting down and having a talk with them and asking them questions. When you give them all these creative tools and you give them this board, there's a blank board behind me. I hope you can see it well. That's a blank board behind me. I have my vision board actually hanging here on the wall. Let me show you. That's my vision board, hanging on the wall there. I have different kinds of vision boards and all of that. I am never without it because, maybe because of my job, I'm a very visual person. I like to see the things that I'm doing, and all of that. But if your kids build vision boards, it helps them to just pour out from their soul. I realized that the first vision board that I did, it was supposed to be a business vision board, but I just realized that all the other aspects of my life just started coming in. All the things I really wanted to do, came and I represented them on that vision board. It was more like a release for me, just to be able to release my mind, to acknowledge and accept that I was multi-passionate. I knew, but that was when it dawned on me, that term, multi-passion. You're passionate, about so many other things, and all of that. And then if you're a woman, you're here, or you're a man, even in life, I don't think that life was built for us to just really, really focus on one passion, really. I don't think so. I'm one of those people. I'm really biased about being multi-passionate, and I feel that the whole world is multi-passionate. A lot of people just don't know because they haven't allowed themselves to explore that term and explore themselves that way. When you look at it as women, Dotun can testify, Nena can testify as well, and some other people here, you are multi-passionate even about things about your life. You are passionate about your own life, but you are passionate about the life of your husband, the life of your kids, the life of your, so life is just built in such a way that you can't just say I'm passionate about just one thing. So the issue is not even about being multi-passionate. It's not a sin, it's not a crime, it's a natural way of life. If you're a Christian, you would understand from the book where there was a story about this man who was going away, and he gave his workers, he gave one 5 talents, gave one 3 talents, and gave another 1 talent. The only thing he told them to do was to multiply. So if you have only one thing that you do, the only thing you need to do is multiply. So if your child is interested in only one thing, it's fine. But give that room and leave the door open. You know how when you give birth to your children, they first of all start looking like one parent or one grandpa or one grandma. And then as they grow older, or maybe they start looking like you, as they grow older, they start to shank you and start looking like daddy, or start to look like mommy. That is how sometimes passions with kids, that's how sometimes it evolves. It's, like as they pass along, sometimes they see things, our conscious and subconscious minds are at work in us all the time. So as the kids pass through life, they see things that form ideas in their minds, that form interest in them, that form, so if your child says, oh, I love this and I love that, don't say, focus. Focus, there's something called focus really for multi-passionates, but focus is just different for a multi-passionate child. A multi-passionate child needs to be taught to be divergent even in focus. I know that just sounds crazy, but you need to be able to teach your child to be divergent in focus, meaning that you're not going to tell your child, forget about these other 7 things you want to do and focus on this one thing. No, you will tell your child you can do everything that you want to do in this life, but there's just going to be a strategy to how you get to do it. Okay, some of the strategies, that I will share would be, there are sometimes you can tell them. So for example, I wanted to do so many things. By the time I was in architecture school, so that had to be my main focus. I had to do this and pass and come out with good grades so that I could go and practice this profession called architecture. From there, when I did my NYSC, I served in an architecture firm. When I did my NYSC, from there, I moved on to working in an interior design firm because interior design was next on the list. Architecture was first, interior design was second. It was second on the list. So I went on to work in an interior design firm. The only thing that I did was I just looked for the skills that enabled me to work in the places that I wanted to work. When I wanted to move into personal development in 2016, the only skill that I had, that I knew that I had, two skills really, that I knew that I had that were going to enable me function properly, I thought about it and said, well, can you be good in the personal development space? And why did I say that? Because I love to teach. If there's anything that I know that somebody needs that information, I love to give information out. I love to teach. So that was the skill or the interest or whatever it was that I leveraged on. So help your children find the skills that they have that can help them to prosper in these different areas that they want to prosper. Then tell them that, you can't do everything at the same time. You have to, do one at a time, so help them manage it. Your job is to help your child manage their multi-passions, not to tell them, no, you can't do all of this. Jack of all trades, master of none. And that is not even the right, that whole phrase, that's not correct. If you Google it, you find out that that's not correct. That's not where it ends. So you help your children manage their multi-passions, number one, by being really, really supportive of all their, and acknowledge the fact that they are multi-passionate, acknowledge the fact that they are talking about so many things. My daughter, she's going to be 10 in June. She's still saying the same thing. At first, I started to worry, we are Christians, so what kind of dancing and singing do you want to do, and things like that. And I started to try to, that to sing the song of God. I'll be showing her Maverick City every day and all those kind of things, just trying to. So, but the thing is, you can always try to help them and support them in the line that you want them to go, that you believe is best for them. But always don't say, for example, I don't know if I could tell my parents at the time when I was younger that I wanted to be a dancer and a singer. What kind of profession is that? What kind of profession is that? My dad was a pilot, my mom was a nurse. Where are you bringing that one from? Everybody in my house went to science class, and everything like that. But we have to, acknowledge that our kids are multi-passionate. When I grew up, for a minute there, I was so pained and so hurt, even when I left uni. Because I kept on saying, how could my parents see that I could draw? One day, my son was drawing at the age of 3, and tears rolled down my eyes, because I said, maybe this was how I started when I was younger. But my mom kept on saying, be a doctor. After seeing this child drawing and painting and running after all the crayons and everything in Argos, at that time I had this Argos magazine that a family friend brought. I kept it. My dad's boss came to the house and he said, this girl draws so beautifully. What do you want to do when you grow up? I said, I wanted to be an artist. He said, okay, what do you want? I want to buy something for you. What do you need? I ran to get this Argos magazine, and thank you so much, Mr. Motoshow. So he just put that thing in the chats, so we can read it and see what the correct one is. It's not that one that everybody always talks about, So my dad's boss said, what do you want? And I ran and I got that Argos magazine and I showed him all those pages where they used to have crayons, Crayola, different types, felt tips and everything. And he gave me money in dollars to go get that thing. Of course, my parents downed that money. Till today, I don't know where that money, and I'm so upset about it. I'm still upset about it. Where is my money that they gave me to use it buying crayons? Where is the money? That kind of thing. So you didn't want to buy for me. Somebody even came and said, okay, give FOLAKEMI this. To do your own bits and buy for FOLAKEMI now. You did not. So we need to be supportive of our children's passions. Just allow them, when they change their mind, they will change their mind. It's not all multi-passionate people and everything that we've said we want to do that we continue to, some people drop some passions along the way. Some people pot from one to another. So in my 20s, I was talking about it on Tuesday, March 1st, in my 20s, I was purely an architect in my 20s. When I entered into my 30s, my personal development phase had started already. So now I'm 5 years in personal development, probably how many years now, Dotun, in architecture and design? I can't remember, because I didn't leave architecture and design. In fact, I still work in architecture and design. In fact, on Monday I was on site, and on Tuesday I was at that personal development seminar, talking about it. So it's just testament to the fact that they can run these things. People are unique, when it's not just one thing that they do. It's a beautiful thing if you have a multi-passionate child. Now the child is still young. You can help them form themselves. You can just, give them that validation that they need. The world does not give multi-passionate people validation. Multi-passionate people always have to validate themselves. The adults I was talking to the other day, I was teaching them about how they need to validate themselves. Okay, you need to validate yourself. You need to be able to see how you are special. You are this, how you can do it. So there are different ways, let them acknowledge them, help them to acknowledge themselves, help them to see being multi-passionate as a normal thing. Gather their other multi-passionate friends together. Let your children have friends that are multi-passionate. So I think because I'm friends with Dotun and a lot of our other classmates were also multi-passionate. In fact, I doubt that you find any single passionate person in an architecture class. Everybody has come because they have one crazy form of art going on in their brain. And that's the reason why they are reading architecture. You know, some people, it's batik, it's fashion design. We had a classmate that had a sewing machine in her room. When everybody had their board and their T-square and everything, she had a sewing machine in her room. And she will go to class, we read, we come back. Uzezi will be sewing on her sewing machine, you know, and it was what she loved. And then when she was doing her final year project, I saw her go into landscape, and the way she was designing the green area was just, it was something else. You know, I also have been to fashion school. I have been to makeup school. I just find myself just going and, you know, just see, I'm such a divergent adult and I have time to do the things that I want to do. Help your children to, you know, to apportion their time, you know. If they are interested in music, let me even tell you one thing. You see, when I'm passionate about something, I go and learn the skill of that thing. I don't just stay with just a passion. Oh, it's just a love for something. No, I dive into it, you know, in the sense that I go and get the relevant skill needed to be able to practice that thing on some particular level. So everything that I'm passionate about, you know, there is basic, intermediate, and advanced learning. I am at least basic. I have gone for at least a basic course in everything that I like. My makeup class was basic. My fashion design class, I did basic and intermediate. My architecture class, of course, was all the way. My interior design class was all the way as well. I went and I did interior design. I did a course even after doing my course in architecture. So one thing I know is that skills can never lie. If your children are skilled in the art of the things that they like, they will find it easy to practice it. So don't be scared for them. Don't fear. Don't say, you want to sing and you want to dance. You know, when you look at the world, look at people like Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey started out as a broadcaster and then now became a talk show host and then went into acting, you know, and all of that. And now she's into all forms of personal development and talking to people, and she's become this icon, you know, and all of that. Really well celebrated. Her birthday was January 29th. The whole world was just saying beautiful things about Oprah Winfrey. She's gone beyond all these just, you know, and it's because of her multi-passions and the areas where she features that people are able to talk about her the way that they talk about her. Oprah Winfrey sits with head of states and, you know, and big political leaders, big life leaders, sits down with them and pulls life lessons and all of that. But she started in broadcasting and journalism. Pure broadcasting and journalism. So, but see how she's been able to take the skills of broadcasting and journalism and apply them in different areas. So help your children get skilled. Invest in them getting skilled. Don't say, please, I cannot get you a piano teacher or a guitar teacher or anything. So my daughter who wants to sing and dance, I've told her, if you want to sing and dance, you're going to Juilliard. Maybe when you write the entrance examination for Juilliard, you know, that's where you know the best of the best of the best of, you know, music icons and geniuses go to in the US. Maybe when you go there, you understand that it's not the way people just to sing and dance anyhow. You will know that this is a real profession and it must be respected. So these are the things. I'm not arguing with her. No, you can't be this, you can't be that. No, but if you want to be this, you are going to be the best at it. Okay. And when she goes or whatever it is, and then so as long as she keeps that dream, right? If she changes it, we pot with her. You know, wherever it is that she goes, we pot with her. Our own job as guardians is to ensure that she becomes the best that she can be at the things that she says she wants to do. Because it is what somebody says I want to do that they will willingly do. We've seen people who will read law and then carry the pali and give to their parents and go and do music. We've seen people who will read engineering, carry the pali, give their parents and go into modeling and fashion design. We've seen all sorts of things. Now, wouldn't it benefit you if your child had a background in the things that they were going to do later in the future, and they just, you know, went straight into it and they didn't have to, you know, waver or, you know, or waste so much time? My younger sister, who is 7 now, also had this same kind of issue. She's told me since she was 8 that she wanted to be a chef. She said she wanted to be a chef. Really shy girl, wanted to just be on her own, introverted. But at the time I asked her, okay, she said she wanted to bake cupcakes one day. I said, okay, so how would you, I want to sell cupcakes. How are you going to sell the cupcakes? She said, oh, I'm going to go from door to door. I'm going to go to my neighbor's houses and go from door to door and knock the door and tell them I want to sell cupcakes to them. She was 8 at the time, really shy kid. But for the love of for the love of, baking and, and pastry and all of that, you said you will go and knock the neighbors' doors and sell it to them. So do you see how people are willing to do whatever it is that they need to do when they are in that space that they love? So don't disturb your kids, don't tell them you cannot, allow them to dream. Tell them they can do it, help them strategize. They can start with one thing now. If they outgrow it, they outgrow it. If they don't, they carry it on. Most important things that I think is allow them to get all the skills and knowledge, help them. They have time now. Maybe during their club days, in one term, you can be in this club, or one session, you can be in this club, and the next session, just allow them have like basic information and learning about the things they want. There are chances that when they go into the basic study of something, they can say, oh no, I don't really like this so much anymore. I want to pot. And if they want to pot, it's fine, but allow them to explore everything, to have information about everything. And this information will always guide them. Another thing is that they will always thank you and love you. It's funny that as an adult, I was still upset about the fact that they didn't buy me my crayon when that man gave them money to buy my crayon. And they also were there. My mother was telling me, FOLAKEMI, you do medicine. Me too, I was saying, yes, I'll become a surgeon. My best friend went ahead to read medicine, so she's a pediatrician now and all of that. But I'm an architect. I get to, think all forms of fashion and all forms of things in my head. I get to design so many things. I design clothes. I do so many other things. And I'll be able to spot. And you see, one thing with multi-passions is that I don't think that I have to do everything by myself. Right? I can partner with, so my sister is really interested in fashion. I have 2 sisters. My sister is really interested in fashion, and I can partner with her and do her sketches and all of that for her. I'm still featuring in the fashion design industry, but I'm not necessarily, I don't have, we have to expand our minds and open up our minds. If your child says, I want to be in the music industry, it doesn't necessarily have to be the musician. He could be the one that is maybe sound engineering or something like that. He could be doing something, with them. So he could read engineering and still be working in that industry, and all of that. And so just open up your mind. You go and learn about that thing that your child said that he wants to do. So for example, sometimes my daughter and I, we sit down and I show her all gospel musicians. And then when I'm done, I show her Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Beyonce. I show her these people, and I really point her to songs where their vocal ability and the range really came out, so that she can see that singing is not being, it needs a lot of discipline. There are things, so I'll show her videos of where somebody was taking care of their voice and they sounded good, and where somebody maybe had meddled with drugs or something and they sounded really awful. Just to also teach her life lessons about how you must carry yourself, even if you are in the industry. So be that, for your child, be that pillar, be that, the world or any other discomfort or anything. They just need people to just help their brains expand. Another thing I wanted to stress on, help your children build life skills. Life skills will help them to thrive in any area that they find themselves. They will thrive, okay? Help them find other people who are like-minded. If you have one auntie or uncle or somebody who is in a particular field that your child wants to, even if it's 2 different fields. For example, my brother-in-law is into photography, and all of that. And when my husband wanted my daughter to take a photography class in school, she was kicking against it. So I said, oh, talk to Uncle Stephen. Talk to Uncle Stephen, let him tell you 1 or 2 things about photography. At the end of the day, she still said, okay, fine, no problem, I'll go for it. At the end of the day, she said, Mommy, I don't think I want to go for it. I want to go to dance club. So we said, okay, no problem, go to dance club. But if your grades don't, if you don't do well, if your grades don't stay, where it is, or climb up, then you change your club. By herself, she came the next time and said, Mommy, I think I want to join Young Engineers Club. Wherever it is you want to go, go. Don't worry, we are here for you. Wherever it is you want to go, go. As long as it's within our capacity to help you. Where we need to sit you down and advise you and say, hey, I think you're just going all over the place, we'll do that. But most importantly, help them to manage it. Okay, tell them you can do something in your teens and be something else in your 20s and be something else in your 30s and something else in your 40s. And that way they end up being all 4 things that they want to be. Life is in phases, and at different phases of life, you have the passion and the burning desire, for different things. So you can be everything that you want to be in your lifetime. You will live to be 120 by God's grace. You can do it. You can be 12 things, in your 120 years. You can be 10 things in your 120 years. help them to also have multi-passionate friends around them, so that you can say, oh, you don't have to do this alone. You can help them partner with their siblings. Oh, you want to do a fashion business? Okay, partner with this particular sibling, or partner with your friend. Help them understand the importance of collaboration. A multi-passionate person will not do everything by themselves, but they will collaborate with their friends, collaborate with people. It also teaches them how to manage emotions, how to think critically, how to be in teams, interpersonal relationship, and things like that. These are part of life skills. There are about 10 to 12 life skills. If you check it, you see that UNICEF and United Nations, and World Health Organization have spelled it out and said these are the 10 to 12 life skills that people need to be able to excel in any field at all in life. So imagine your multi-passionate child building those life skills from now. You understand? It helps them to, really think through. If you can't think through for them, allow them, give them what you want to give them, life skills and all of that, and allow them to start thinking, with the things that they are equipped with. They start to think through all the things they want to do, and they become better people. These are really different times. They are growing up in times that are very different from the times that we grew up in. Help them to understand, who they are, very important. You could sit with your child, have a session. Who are you? Who am I? Let them write essays all the time. What are the things that you like to do? Help them to be vocal about it. Let that environment be an environment that tells them you can be anything that you want to be. And whenever it is that you want to stop being whatever it is that you are doing now, or you are now, and you want to do something else, you can do. Instead of asking your child, what do you want to be when you grow up? Tell them, who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? What are the things you want to create? And what are the things you want to experience in your lifetime? If you ask them this thing 5 ways, you're helping them to pour out their visions, and you're not just restricting them by what do you want to be when you grow up? No. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? What do you want to create? What do you want to experience? Let them know that they can have experiences. Let them know that they can be creative and create anything that they want. What problems do you want to solve? Maybe that would be also a very, very beautiful question. What problems do you want to solve? What are the things that you don't like about, your environment? What things do you see that, for example, you could have a child that is so neat. The child is just always, maybe the child kind of seems like he has OCD or something like that. You never know what that thing can translate into. You never just know. My son right now, the kind of things that he watches, and I have to just be there and support him, whether I'm interested in it or not. My son is really interested in watching aircraft documentaries. Sometimes he will watch videos on when they are building aircrafts, documentaries on what made a particular plane crash, documentaries on, and he's just 6, he's going to be 7. Documentaries on, he draws very well as well. He likes all those things that a lot of his mates will not really connect with. So it seems a bit odd, but I am that pillar for him. Oh, you can watch those. Or you can sit and tell me. If you ask him, before then he was interested in cars, and then he started to get interested in luxury cars. Till he asked me one day, Mommy, why are you not driving a luxury car? I said, because I'm waiting for you to buy it for me. Can buy me the luxury car. Mommy is up for it. You can buy me that luxury. I said, the billionaire in our family has come. Buy me the luxury car, that kind of thing. So I just, encourage him. And he's very nerdy. Like he's better at, he's really good at things like maths and sciences, and all of that. But then he has this part where he draws really well. Started drawing when he was like 2 or 3, draws really well. Sometimes he's sitting by himself. He just so his mind is very creative. He has a very creative mind in a nerdy way. And then my daughter has a very creative mind. All kids are creative, I'm telling you. Sometimes you have other people talking about their children and say, oh my God, oh wow, what? Oh wow, he's sitting in your house. Your kid is creative. There's no child that's not creative. My daughter has a child in her class who has some slight challenges, has some issues with dyslexia. And she told me, she said, Mommy, do you know that this boy can draw? He creates comics. He creates comics. He draws, like he will put comics. And then she said, Mommy, do you know he likes to talk about, he likes documentaries. He will tell you about, so there's some kind of information that this boy is very interested in. It's not only book, like the educational, kind of thing, and all of that. Sometimes when our kids don't do well in math or don't do well in this or that, we cane them, we flog them. Some people, you hear some people saying, why is this only my child that is not doing well in this thing? It's not about you, mommy or daddy. Please remove yourself from this, from this equation. It's not about you. It's not about your reputation or anything. Let's focus on this child. Let's be intentional parents to these kids. Let's show them that we can love them and that no matter what it is, no matter what they want to do, we are there for them. There's no other person that your child will remember later in future. So with all the people that will support them in life, right? They will love you as in if you are that parent that supported your child, but this child will never forget you. This child will never forget you. Wherever it is that your child gets to, wherever on the map of this world that your child gets to, your name will get to that place on the map. So you never go wrong, by supporting your children. I read a book, my book for January, or was it February? I think it was February, maybe January, was Nadia Hussain. Nadia Hussain is a British, she's an Indian British girl. She's Bangladeshi, but she's British because she was born there and everything, and she grew up there. She won something, the British Baking Challenge or something like that. I used to watch her on TV, and I remember the first time, Food Channel is my best channel, because of all the creativity that goes on there. I love all the colors. I love everything. I used to love cooking, some time back. Right now, I think maybe because of how busy my schedule is, I really want to hire a cook. I really want to hire a cook, but Food Channel remains my best channel of all time. So British Bake Off, yes, that was what Nadia Hussain won. Nadia Hussain, at the time that she was, young in her house and all, her mother had an oven, but they never baked anything. Her dad ran a restaurant and they only cooked their Indian, their Bangladeshi meal for people. So, these people are really cultural. So wherever it is that they go in the world, they don't lose their culture. They dress the way that they dress at home. They kind of create a mini village for themselves in another person's country. And that's how they are. Africans are like that too sometimes. So she grew up in this, Bangladeshi home. She had siblings, many of them, many sisters, one brother. Her dad was there, her mom. They also had family members around them. Nadia Hussain, you can look her up, and they never baked anything in their oven. One day in school, a particular teacher, was it Mrs. Marshall? I can't remember the teacher's name. The woman did a class for them where she opened the oven and she said, oh, we are baking today and everything. And she said, oh, that's what that thing is used for. Her other classmates were looking at her and they were like, who doesn't know what an oven is used for? But in her house, they never used the oven to bake. They always did their traditional way of cooking and everything. Her mom said the oven was for keeping pots and pans. You know how sometimes we just slide the frying pan into the oven. That was what her mom used that place for. They used it to store pots, pans, and some things. They never used it to bake. So the first time she saw this thing going on in school, she was like, oh my God, this thing's for baking. And that was the first time that she fell in love. So whatever it is that your kids are saying that they want to do right now, I was talking to those adults the other day that, multi-passions are inevitable. The reason is because the jobs that exist now did not exist 10 years ago. So when we were asked, oh, who do you want to be when you were saying, I want to be a doctor, have you noticed that when you ask kids these days, what do you want to do when you grow up? They start telling you things about, maybe I want to be a writer, I want to be a singer, I want to be some people will say they will say content marketing, I want to be a digital something. They just mention all sorts of jobs that did not exist 10 years ago. And then in 10 years time again, another set of jobs will come out and somebody might fall in love with something. Do you understand? So we are using tech. When I wanted to do personal development, I didn't think about it that it would be like, I only saw myself standing on the stage speaking and all of that. And after speaking at more than, maybe going to 80 or 80 plus places now and everything like that, COVID came and reminded us that, you could just sit down where you are, even though I had already started doing it digitally, but COVID said, oh, you can just do it from where you are. And so I started having more online workshops, and all of that. So this is me now becoming a tech entrepreneur in a way, because I'm leveraging on tech to do the things that I want to do. This is us, all of us here. When Dotun was planning for this conference, she ran an ad for it. So that was her using tech, to do her marketing. So someone can just, and she can even do that for someone else and say, oh, I want to be a digital. Before, it was just PR companies. When you build a brand and you want that brand to go far, you go and you hire PR consultants and the PR companies will charge you. Or sometimes you go to the newspapers and, you want to post news or you want to do something, you go there. Now we have our phones and we just use social media just talk about what we want to talk about. And then so many people come there. So there are so many jobs. You see, multi-passions are inevitable. You will fall in love with a lot of other things. Oh, I like the way social media allows me to do this. You fall in love, become a social media entrepreneur. There are some people who are just influencers now. That's what they do. They just influence the whole world. That's what they do. So there are people who are really good at keeping people up to date with what's happening with them. So like right now maybe I have one phone here and I'll say, oh, this is me when I was speaking, at the, conference, and all of that. I'll update people. Some people are really good at things like that. Maybe because of the kind of things that I do and the I won't be able to, like there are days and there are maybe when I'm on holiday, yeah, do that, I just feel people, this is what I'm up to right now and all of that. So your kids are going to still fall in love with some other things, to be frank. They are still going to fall in love with some other things. Don't stifle them. Don't make them feel as if, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. In 10 years, another 10 years, when they will all be in their 20s, maybe, or in their teens, maybe there will be some other set of jobs that they will fall in love with. So please just be there to support them. The most important thing in this life is for your child, the things that really matter, honestly.
Okay, sorry about that. Um, the internet. Okay, okay, it's back. Sorry about that. The internet is back. You can unmute, Falake. I can't hear you. Okay.
All right, seen it. So as long as they get to, they have good attitude, they know how to, so help them build skills instead. When they build all those skills, it becomes easy for them to manage it. I think the fear really is that when they do so many things, they don't get to master one and become really good at doing one thing. But, with good strategy, with good management, today I can wake up and be an architect and go to site, and then in the evening I could have like a personal development session, and I'm not forcing myself to do these things. These are the things that I've always wanted to do, and I'm getting to do it, and it's making me happy. The most important thing is fulfillment. One thing that I wanted to say, and I probably will just wrap up with this and take any questions that come. One thing that I wanted to say is that if you don't allow your children to live out their passions, like, oh, if you don't allow them to test and prove whether the things that they want to do, whether these things are really feasible, or whether these things are really, you can't just say, no, you can't do that. You have to allow them to test it and see and decide, on the inside, for themselves that, okay, no, this thing, maybe I don't think I really want to, dance or sing anymore. I think that was my childhood dream. I think now I want to do this, now I want to do that, and all of that. If you don't allow them do that, sometimes there might be something deep down inside of them, later in future, that curiosity was not satisfied. So deep down inside, they might get to a point where they just regret and feel slightly unsatisfied, unfulfilled about the fact that they were not allowed to try this thing. But if you allow them, to look at it and think about it really well. Is this what you really want to do? Have a conversation, at least have a conversation. So why do you think this? Why, if you think it's not something that's really a good thing or profitable, just have that conversation with them. Be open to having a conversation. Don't say, this house, God forbid, God forbid. What kind of thing is that? Who in your family have you seen? There was no entrepreneur. Like my mom and dad were not entrepreneurs. Even when I became multi-entrepreneur in multiple areas, my mom didn't understand. For the longest time, my mom was still telling all her daughters in the office, my daughter is looking for a job. please, if you find any job for her or whatever, she can submit her CV, you can employ her. Especially when I started to do architecture, as a private, as a personal, under personal entrepreneurship, as opposed when I resigned from my office and started doing it, personally. And I did that because it was the only way that was going to allow me. So I'm talking about entrepreneurship now. If your child works in a particular office by day, think about it, we're zooming into the future now. By evening time, they can do something else. If these two jobs are the kind of jobs that require daytime, so it could be the daytime for anything and all of that. They could be entrepreneurs. That's another flexible solution. That was a solution for me. Entrepreneurship was that avenue for me to be able to practice my multi-passions. So if I was still working with my boss in this architecture firm, I would be saying, sir, please excuse me, I don't think I'll come tomorrow. I need to go and train some people on vision boarding. I will not come, but on Thursday I'll come to work, and it wouldn't have been possible. So entrepreneurship was that avenue for me. So think entrepreneurship, don't only think about the fact that your children will have federal government jobs, have, 9-to-5 jobs and all of that. Entrepreneurship is a solution. So you might as well start getting them to go for some mini business classes and all those kind of things now, because it will help them in future, and all of that. So these are, I hope that with, most of the things I've talked about, that you can, at least you have picked like one or two things you can do to help your kids. Most important thing, allow your environment be an inviting one for them, an environment that invites them to conversations. All life's challenges and troubles are solved in conversation. Because those are the things that people remember, they get embedded in the subconscious mind and they remember it, over and over again. Oh, I remember the talk I had with my dad. I see the talk that I had with my family friend, and this was in 2001. And I'm still not forgetting. This is how many years after? I haven't forgotten. 21 years after, I haven't forgotten. And that was the conversation that changed the course of my life. So be that person for your kids. Unfortunately, I can't mention my mom or dad's name when I'm talking about this conversation, that this man had with me. So wouldn't you like to be that person that your kids actually had that conversation with? I'm sure we all want to be. And God will help us, and teach us the right way to go. Talk to them about the parable of talents. Somebody had 5 and multiplied with it. Somebody had 2 multiplied. The person that had 1. So it doesn't necessarily mean that because you have 1, you will prosper. It really depends on the mindset you have towards it. You have 1 multiply, you have 2 multiply, you have 5 multiply. Then again, I'm going to wrap up with the story of Bezalel in the Bible. If you've ever read that story, go back and read that story again. You see how God was saying, Bezalel, the son of Ur. And when you read that verse, you kind of get a feeling that he was boasting about Bezalel. He was talking about the fact that Bezalel could work in wood, in metal, in bronze, in this and that, in fabrics. One person. It's over now. We can do it all. And God will help us, in everything that we want to do. Thank you so much, Doctor, for bringing me. If there are questions, I think we can take questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Folake.